Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I have a quick update regarding the SEC's appeal regarding the Judge Torres ruling in the SEC v. Ripple case, but I'm going to focus the vast majority of this video on a topic that I keep seeing brought up from certain people in the XRP community. And oh yes, our community is full of some lively people with some interesting opinions. You know, when you have a community as large as ours, because let's be real, we have one of the largest crypto communities ever to exist, probably full of millions of people. But when you have a group, with a shared interest that large, you're going to get a little bit of all God's creatures. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a little taste of everything. And some of those creatures are a bit more conspiracy theory oriented. Now, I'm not, because I, just by nature, just how I'm wired, if you're going to make a big-ass claim, I need you to provide me with some big-ass evidence, or else I might think that you're just doing a bunch of dot connecting, and unless you have some really thought through it, I won't even necessarily think that you're connecting dots that should be connected, as is frequently the case when people posit some really out there ideas. But I'm going to share with you what's being stated, and if you do have some sort of evidence or I'm unaware of something, of course I want to know. So if you think that I'm mistaken or lacking some knowledge, you let me know. That would be fine, and I'd actually be happy to talk about it on the channel, but you got to show me something, and right now I'm seeing literally nothing to support wacky accusations, but I understand why people are saying what they're saying, so I'm not going to pretend like I don't get why they're saying what they're saying. So the question is, like for instance, was the SEC seeking to prevent XRP from participating in the 2020 bull run? Did the SEC intentionally appeal the SEC v. Ripple ruling from Judge Torres just as Ripple was about to launch their stablecoin, RLUSD? And just as Bitwise announced they seek to launch their XRP ETF, which they did file for with the SEC, and just as Swift, I don't know if you heard about this one, Swift has just as they have announced that they're not just testing but moving into real world application of transacting digital assets. This is those are all the last three things, all very recent developments right around the time the SEC took this most recent action in terms of appeal. So does that mean that there's some sort of conspiracy corruption afoot? No. Let's talk about it though. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say, right? I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So here's a post from attorney James K. Filan letting us know that there's an update regarding this appeal in the SEC v. Ripple case. And he noted that he wrote the file, and the appeal has been docketed on the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit Pacer docketing system. The case title is Securities and Exchange Commission v. Ripple Labs, Inc., and the docket number is 24-2648. And so what does it mean if an appeal is docketed? Well, an appeal is docketed when the clerk of the Court of Appeals, and I had to copy and paste this from the internet to make sure I got this exactly right. An appeal is docketed from the clerk of the Court of Appeals. I'm sorry, I just read that wrong. An appeal is docketed when the clerk of the Court of Appeals enters the appeal on the docket and files the record. This happens after the clerk receives the record from the clerk of the district court and the appellate pays the docket fee. And so that's it. It's just a filing update, but I did want to let you know that has happened, so it's proceeding. This does not indicate yet exactly what the SEC is appealing. Now, I think it's a virtual certainty it will be Ripple's programmatic sales, but we'll see. So here is the news from literally yesterday, which is the day after we got news of the appeal, but it comes directly from Swift's official account on X. Exciting news, starting next year, financial institutions from around the world will start trialing live digital asset and currency transactions on the Swift network. And so that was shared by Crypto Insight UK, and he said, XRP conspiracists will love this. The timing is mad. Haha. Yeah, so of course, I knew as soon as I saw this, I was like, God, there's going to be people connecting dots that they shouldn't be connecting. Here's a post from a chart analyst 360 trader. He buys into the narrative, apparently. And nothing against, by the way, just to be clear, nothing against anybody that buys into this. I just think that you're wrong unless you can provide evidence. I think that's pretty reasonable. You can't just assert something and then expect someone like me to just be compelled by the assertion without the evidence. I don't think that's reasonable, but I am going to tell you if I think that you're wrong because you have no evidence. I mean, that's pretty fair. But here, 360 Trader said, all this was planned from the beginning from the powers that be. Ah, yes, the shadowy figures talk. Don't know who that is, exactly what that means, but okay. So here you have the announcement on the Swift website. This is basically a press release from yesterday, and I read the whole thing. I don't think it's necessary for me to read literally the whole thing on here. It's pretty vague, to be honest with you. So they're talking here. I'll read you a small part of it. Recent experiments have proven our capacity to connect public and private blockchains, interlink central bank digital currencies on a global scale, and integrate multiple digital asset and currency networks. Now we're moving beyond experimentation. Okay, so we don't know what that means. It doesn't mean that they're doing literally what Ripple is doing, just to be clear. So if you think that this is coming out and Ripple's getting squashed and that's why the appeal is coming down, the hammer's getting brought down on Ripple, and now Swift's doing this awesome stuff, the timing, oh my God, no, that's completely ridiculous. Number of reasons here. And first, just recognize that we don't even know exactly what this means because they haven't said publicly what it means, not even on their own website. They're talking about, transacting in currency, regular currency, and digital currency. So presumably, perhaps this means that a bank on the Swift network could move Bitcoin from one bank to another bank, in which case you don't need a bridge currency anyway. You're just moving the asset. Maybe it's that. I don't know. They don't say. And also keep in mind that Swift is owned by all of the banks in the network. That's over 11,000 banks. Just to be super duper clear here. So, I mean, if you think that the SEC or something in the United States federal government is somehow, coercing 11,000 banks, okay, you think what you want to think. That doesn't make any sense to me. But setting aside that, the act of this appeal doesn't do anything whatsoever to prevent or hinder Ripple from competing with Swift. Nothing. In fact, understand that the appeal here, and we don't know exactly what they're going to appeal, but understand the SEC already won on the institutional stuff. So all the stuff that would impact Ripple's, institutional transactions as it pertains to XRP as a bridge currency, Ripple already lost on that. So if anything, there's an appeal and then Ripple also appeals, if anything, it gets better for Ripple. I mean, and although they could, if they lose, because look, there's only a few things that the SEC can do with this appeal. And that's why I said I think a virtual certainty is the programmatic side, because that's Ripple's sales on exchanges, so on and so forth. That's where the SEC lost, right? So they can appeal that. That has nothing to do with competing with Swift whatsoever. Nothing. Zero. Literally zero. So it's such a crazy thing to think this is the case. Also, and so they could appeal that, and then there's also potentially anything having to do with the penalties and disgorgement they could, but that also wouldn't impact Ripple's ability to conduct a business, anything on the institutional side of things, nothing. Ripple can continue, and no matter what happens with this appeal, they'll be able to continue using XRP everywhere they're using it, and they can use on-demand liquidity with stablecoins, which is what they're doing right now. And their intent, they publicly stated now, is to begin using their own Ripple stablecoin instead of using USDC and Tether. Okay? But they can keep moving forward, keep expanding. There's no question mark. There's nothing that's going to prevent any sort of bank from doing business with Ripple. Because on that side, on the institutional side, the part that matters, that's been completed. That is settled. On that side, the only thing that can happen, since it was a loss for Ripple, the only thing that could happen is via appeal, is it could get better for them if they win on appeal. It can't get worse, though. Not on the institutional side, which is the only thing that matters here. So I understand why people are saying this, because nobody put deep thought into this, which is why I'm ripping the concept to shreds, so that people, if you did think this made sense, I hope you don't anymore, because it's silly. It just is. No offense to anybody, but it's pretty silly. I understand the timing is interesting to some people, because on October 2nd, you get the appeal. The very next day, Swift's like, we're doing stuff with cryptocurrencies or digital assets, whatever. And we still don't know what that means, so we don't know if that would, in any sort of way, actually impact what they're doing, what Ripple's doing. And also, Swift is just a messaging system. They don't do any clearing. They don't do any sort of settlement. It's just a messaging system. So if banks want to conduct any sort of transactions with each other, again, they can implement that. And to me, It always seemed like a natural evolution anyway. If anything, maybe Ripple becomes a part of that. Also, we've known for years that Swift had been doing tests with cryptocurrencies. Now, they did one back with Ripple in the day, and since they probably felt like Ripple was too much of a threat back then, fine. They pretended like it didn't really benefit. Okay, fine. But after that, they started doing additional tests. We've known that for years. This doesn't even go live until 2025. That's what they're saying here. So, if there was some sort of secret move, why do you really think they'd be so stupid to get the conspiracy theorist juices flowing to the day after the appeal announcement, get them talking, even if this, even if the appeal would help, the appeal in the Ripple case, even if it would help Swift, do you think they'd be so stupid to announce it the next day? Now, again, it doesn't help them. The appeal does not help Swift. There's nothing that will help them with this appeal. Can't happen. But do you think that if it could, they'd be so stupid to announce it the next day? Or do you think sometimes there's stuff that happens in life and then conspiracy theorists come up with wacky ideas and connect dots that shouldn't be connected? I'm thinking it's that one. Because the truth of the matter is we've already known for years that Swift has been changing their tune on this, recognizing it needs to get implemented. This is the most recent evolution of that. You do a Google search on this. You can find all sorts of stuff on this. Unquestionably, that is indeed the case. What do you think is going on here? So again, this doesn't go live like on the day of the announcement. It's 2025. So if Swift were trying to be sneaky here and they were controlled by the shadowy figures, whatever they are, wouldn't they just announce it in like a couple months or something? Or don't you think they would have announced it a couple months ago? Yeah, because that would make sense. Everything falls apart when you put like 5 seconds of thought into this. So no, there's nothing shadowy going on here. There's no evidence. Now, if you have evidence, bring it to me, but I know you don't, which is why I say that so confidently. But if you do, I am serious. I will highlight it, and I'll be sorry. I'll say, sorry, I was wrong. You do have evidence. I mean it. I will do that. That would be a big story. But come on. It doesn't even make sense. The appeal does not help Swift. You got to stop this stuff, folks. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, if anything, like Ripple, they are like positioned to help this. If anything, like it's not unreasonable to think that there could be some sort of a way in which the banks and the network could benefit from Ripple, even if they're not using the messaging system. Maybe there could be something in terms of even just liquidity. Who the hell knows? No, but I don't. That's the point. We don't know exactly what this is. They're just talking about moving cryptocurrency or digital assets around, and that's all we know. Is it just a custody thing? Is it transacting? They sure as hell didn't say anything about converting from one fiat currency to another using a cryptocurrency as a bridge. They sure as hell didn't say that. So, okay. It's all just silly to me. But it's fun and interesting to talk about. Here's a post from Nick Crypto Crusader, and he said the following. Look at the pattern of the SEC, especially in terms of their decision to appeal the Ripple XRP case. They waited for the perfect, I think he meant perfect time, but it's missing a word, so I'll just assume that's it. Waited for the perfect time to cause as much damage as possible to the retail investors behind XRP. Think about what happened leading up to the appeal. RLUSD beginning to mint. XRP ETF filing. Open interest surging to $1 billion plus. Folks, I got to say this. There have consistently been incredibly positive stories around the XRP ecosystem for the entire year. They've been evenly dispersed throughout the entire year. So it's not surprising if there was going to be an appeal that it would have been kind of close to some good stuff happening too. It's been happening good stuff the whole year. This isn't surprising. So then he says, this was within 72 hours prior to the appeal. This was a strategic move to cause even more damage. Anyone actually viewing the SEC as an agency that is protecting investors at this point needs to be checked themselves. Okay, well, I can agree with that last part. Yeah, the SEC clearly is not protecting investors. That's obvious. I don't even need to pitch that concept to anybody listening here. I know that. So I'll just say this. Based on when the lawsuit concluded, it was the beginning part of August, and knowing that there were 60 days to appeal, it was reasonable to suppose that if the SEC was going to appeal, it would about be at this time, in the beginning part of October, which is what happened. We were talking about that 2 months ago, okay? 2 months ago we were talking about that, and then it happened, and now it's a conspiracy? The thing that everybody was predicting 2 months ago, because you connect other stuff that happened at the same time. How do my brain don't work? How do some humans' brains work like this? Like, it is. I don't mean it as an insult. I'm just, again, we get a little bit of all God's creatures out there. If you're gonna have a big claim, you need to bring some big evidence. And I'll just tell you, like, fine. This is as far as I can go on this side. And I kind of alluded to this the other day, but this is as far as I can go. This is as much ground as I can possibly cede on this point. The asshat pricks at the SEC are disgusting creatures, right? I would not be surprised, though I'm not going to claim that I think this is the case, but I will say this is as far as I can go. Not making the claim this happened, again, to be clear, but I'd not be surprised if it is the case that even though, yes, the SEC was in all likelihood going to appeal around this point, the decision from Judge Torres, wouldn't be surprised if, since this news come out, maybe they're like, oh, we were going to do it 2 days from now. Let's just bump it up because they're such terrible humans. That wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to assert that because that's just an idea and there's no proof for it and we can never know that. So that's as much ground as I can possibly give, which is, yes, I think they're disgusting humans and it's not outside the realm of possibility. But I'm not saying I even think that happened. That's as much ground as I can possibly give. Some people will go further and say that's why they did it. And I just like, okay, you don't have evidence, but you're going to assert it in the affirmative. Okay, you're entitled to do that. I'm not going to go that far. And then he said here, I think it's very clear, even going back to December 2020, right before altcoins went absolutely crazy, when the SEC dropped the lawsuit. They killed momentum on the perfect time and also caused $15 billion in damages to retail investors just upon the announcement of the lawsuit. Okay, I do not buy into that. See, that's a conspiracy theory. If you're saying that the SEC explicitly was attacking Ripple and XRP holders, and so it was coordinated for that specific reason, you're way out in conspiracy theory. In fact, you are claiming at that point, if that's your position in the community, you're exactly what Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, was pushing back against when he made that grand conspiracy comment. Then you're proving him right if you believe that. There is no grand conspiracy, folks. Now there's corruption, provable corruption. Actually, this is not a conspiracy. We know what happened with Bill Hinman. We know that's disgusting. We know that ETH was getting propped up as a result of all this. But that's not conspiracy. Like that, there's evidence. That's corruption. That's outright corruption. But to state that there is a specific target, there's no evidence for that. There's plainly is not. So that would be for serious a grand conspiracy. So I'm not in your camp on that one if that's what you're thinking. Like it just doesn't make sense here. And so you're thinking, but the timing with the bull run and this and that. Okay, did anything else correlate? Oh, that's right. A United States election, and it's customary for the change of administration is customary for the SEC chair to step down. And so he was tying up the loose end stuff that he was already working on, regardless, well before the bull run started. That's very obvious. It started however long, a couple years beforehand. So, investigating Ripple specifically, and so the timing of it is because he was stepping down, which is normal to do from a historic perspective in the United States. Think about it. But you don't think that makes sense. You want to say, oh no, it was a specific targeting by the United States against Ripple. And you know what else is hilarious to me for the people that will now argue that? This is the same people that like years ago were this is hilarious to me. It's the same people that years ago argue that XRP and Ripple were so systemically important that XRP was pre-allocated to central banks around the world because it's systemically important and it had to be protected. But then they totally flipped, and now apparently the powers that be, there's some shadowy figures here now going against Ripple and XRP. So I guess now it's not systemically important. I mean, the pre-allocation was always the stupidest freaking idea, just made up out of thin air, made up out of thin air. And now the conspiracy theorists, after believing that, based on literally nothing, now they flipped and they're arguing the opposite. It's hilarious to me. It just doesn't make sense. There's no rationality here. People just connect dots that shouldn't be connected. And they think of ideas, and then it's normal to just think of an idea, but then to believe your own idea that you made up, maybe you're going too far sometimes. Sometimes you do. When you're talking about pre-allocation, which again was XRP being secretly held for central banks around the world because it's going to be systemically important. Like, you've gone too far. You made it up. It's a thing, and then you're just gonna believe it because it entered your head with no evidence. It's a thing, though. No, like, it's just amazing to me. Just absolutely astonishing to me. So, no, I don't believe that there's some sort of coordinated attack to take down Ripple for any reason other than the SEC was attacking all sorts of crypto entities. Ripple just happened to be the biggest one to that point, but it had attacked others first. And I just think that the timing of it occurred because Jay Clayton wanted to tie that up and make sure that it happened before he left. Otherwise, it might not have, because he didn't know for sure who was going to take over his position. And had that not happened, if Biden had not won several years ago, then maybe we wouldn't have even had the lawsuit for another year. Who knows? It just got expedited because he wanted to push it out. That's my speculation on that part, of course, as far as the timing of it. But what I'm saying is, if you're speculating, that makes way more sense because there's evidence for stuff like that to happen from a historical perspective in the United States. There's actual data from the past to say, yeah, this is what you would expect. There is nothing on the flip side from the conspiracy theorists. Literally no evidence. Just ideas and assertions, and it gets wacky. I just think before you actively, it's one thing to think of an idea up in your mind and like because you could think of an idea and be like, oh, that's a stupid idea I just had. Like, I do that, we all do that, right? But then to think of the stupid idea and be like, oh yeah, that could be it. Like, can you have a higher threshold before you say you actively believe things or you think that something's even highly likely? Can you have a higher threshold? Because it just looks silly to people that demand evidence. I'm just telling you. It's silly stuff here. So, again, nothing against anybody on a personal level. It's just an approach to life that I don't take. If you have a big-ass claim, I want some big-ass evidence, and that's pretty reasonable. Now, that said, I understand also that the XRP community, broadly speaking, has been under attack, but that's mostly from people in the world of crypto. It's like I saw this post from XRP community member Anders. This resonated with me. I thought, yeah, this is true. He said XRP Ledger was the first public blockchain / DLT that truly removed rent-seeking middlemen. Bitcoin was an amazing technological breakthrough, but you pay miners for using the network. That's why XRP Ledger has been the most attacked tech in crypto from the very start, both from outside and inside crypto. And so I do think that's true. And in fact, there's evidence to point to, including in the early days, back in like 2013, I believe it was, when Bitcoin maximalists were paying people on a Bitcoin forum to lie about XRP being a scam in an attempt to kill it early on. Like, it's been under attack. And so I think the reason is because it just works. Like, XRP and the XRP Ledger, incredible technology comparatively. It just works for payments, and it's one of the first movers ever in the world of crypto. So it's had time to build a following and to actually be adopted. So yeah, I can see that it is a threat to some, including toxic Bitcoin maximalists. And that post was reposted by attorney Bill Morgan, and he said, "It's true. Since I became involved in 2020, the attacks on XRP have been breathtaking and unlike what any other crypto has endured by a 100x. The why of it is the real question." Yeah, so he sees it too. We all see it, right? I'll certainly agree with you on that, but it's from people in the world of crypto. And the why, you can't technically get in the hearts and minds of these people, but I don't think that it's a coincidence that a technologically superior crypto developed right after Bitcoin was getting attacked by the people that had heavy Bitcoin bags. It's like, it's not hard to think that might be the reason why they're doing it. That's not a big leap. Now, while that's not a big leap, it doesn't see, you can have speculation that doesn't get into Looney Tunes line. It's not like a big claim. It's not a wild claim to think that. It is a wild claim to say that there's a grand conspiracy to take down Ripple and XRP holders from the top levels of the federal government of the United States. You lost me there. Sorry, you lost me. Actually, I'm not even sorry. Sorry, not sorry, bro. Okay, like, you lost me there. Same with the Swift stuff. You're going to make these assertions. Look at the timing. Is the day after the appeal news, when I know with certainty, and if you think about it for 5 seconds, you're going to agree, this appeal does not help Swift. It does not slow down Ripple at all. It doesn't. Ripple already lost the institutional stuff, and they're fine. That was the decision. That was the part that impacts XRP as a bridge currency. The SEC can't appeal that. They already won on that. Now Ripple can, and then maybe they'll get a win out of it. So if anything, that part could get better. This isn't something that's going to slow them down. This is so obvious, folks. It's so obvious. Stop thinking so. Like, if you think something might line up or it gets a little silly, think why. Ask why. Or what would the next step be? How would it actually be? Are you asking yourselves these questions, or do you see two headlines? Oh, one happened the day after the next. And they're like, conspiracy. No, that is what they're doing. That is what people are doing. Spend like 5 additional seconds thinking about how it would actually benefit Swift for this to happen. Did you ask yourself that question if you believe that? No, you did not. If you're one of these people that thinks that makes sense, no, you did not. All right, I'll get off the soapbox. Now you guys can all rip me to shreds and tell me why I'm wrong, even though obviously I'm right, okay? All right. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.